You're listening to the Business Wealth Impact Podcast, your source for empowering information and cutting-edge ideas from the world's top minds. I'm your host, Jeanne Amlour, founder of seven-figure coaching company, Jeanne Amlour International. Join me on a journey to unleash your potential and create your highest success. Welcome to Business Wealth Impact. Hello, and welcome to another amazing episode. Today, we have Tom Shipley as a special guest. He's a serial entrepreneur, M&A strategist, and creator of the Add a Zero growth philosophy. He helps founders rapidly scale through strategic acquisitions and has built brands generating over $2 billion in revenue. Welcome, Tom.
It's good to see you. Good to be catching up.
Yeah, you too. Now, you said something fascinating when we met, and I thought, okay, got to have you on the show to talk about that because nobody's ever said that before. And what you said was, any business problem can be solved through acquisitions, more or less. Is that what you said?
More or less close. I say almost every business challenge can be solved through acquisitions. And I don't say 100% because that'd be a little bit arrogant for me to say that.
Right.
But close.
Most. Okay. Fascinating. Can you just, expand on that a bit?
Absolutely. So let me just go back and tell a story. Okay. So it was my second business, and I had this 2005, my business partner and I had this audacious vision that we were going to use direct response marketing to build an iconic $100 million beauty brand, which had never been done before. Mm-hmm. And basically here you had two former special forces guys living in Richmond, Virginia, making this audacious claim, and everyone just kind of laughed and just kind of thought it was a big joke. Mm-hmm. And we were passionate, committed, and we went all in. And to my wife's chagrin, we went all in financially. And at the end of 12 months, we basically proved the model work. We hit $331,000 in revenue. We were slightly break even, but the challenge was, even though the model worked, we proved the lifetime value was great. The customer acquisition cost was perfect. The challenge is we ran out of money. And when I say ran out of money, not only the business, personally, our house was mortgaged to the hilt, credit cards maxed. Our cars, even we took out loans on it, we were done. Mm-hmm. And what I learned in my prior business is when you run out of money, one way of solving it is it's tough to raise money on a break-even startup. Mm-hmm. You can raise money by buying a profitable business. We found a $15 million business with $1.5 million of EBITDA in Hoboken, New Jersey. They were growing really nicely. They were a great supplement business with a number of different products under the brand. And the sellers wanted to sell at the right price. We negotiated a price to buy the business. We were able to raise the money through a lender, and we bought that business. Now, the challenge we had in our business is we did everything manually. We had an inability to scale the business in any further level. We ran out of cash, of course. We didn't have fulfillment, customer service, so we had none of the infrastructure. And we were okay, but we were great internet marketing. Here we are. We bought a company that had great internet marketers, great relationships, a great tech stack, everything that we needed, fulfillment, customer service. We put our little $331,000 brand on top of this platform. Mm-hmm. And within 3 years, we did $100 million.
Wow.
We did $1 billion on that first skincare. But if you think is all the challenge we have, boom, within 3 to 4 months after making that initial offer to buy the business, mm-hmm. we closed and just had a way to solve all our business challenges, in which the foundation for scaling.
Okay. So let me just ask a question here. So what you're saying is, if I'm getting this right, you bought a business that added value to the other business. It wasn't just buying a business. You bought a business that filled the gap that you didn't know how to do. And then you used the other business on your other business, correct?
Correct.
Wow. Okay. So you're saying if people have business issues, then they should probably buy a marketing company or something.
So let me keep on breaking this down. A buddy of mine had a marketing agency. He is one of the best business development guys and marketing guys that I know, and salesperson. And so he built an incredible brand, charged twice as much as the market for services. The problem is that the product they had was inferior, and they kept on churning through customers. They acquired them, but then they would churn. He went and found the best operators in the industry that had a small agency. They were great operators, 1,800 pages of SOPs. They could execute, but they couldn't generate business. As a matter of fact, they were so bad at sales, they kept on discounting what they actually offered, and they couldn't even cover their payroll. My friend Brian came in and said, I'll tell you what, I'm going to rescue your business. And what we're going to do is that I'm going to give you a raise. I'm going to give your team a raise. You're going to become the CEO. I'll give you a little piece of equity in my business. And therefore, you get to do what you do great. You'll be making more money and for us, it's the foundation. And with that, the company really took off now that they had marketing and product that were equal. And he got an offer to buy his business a few years after that for $187 million.
Wow.
So again, his biggest challenge was in operations. I've seen people that have, someone has a house, basically has it basically has a number of different products under their brand. Mm-hmm. They can either create a new hero product or they can acquire a hero product that already has followers. Mm-hmm. If someone has a SaaS business, they can either build the next functionality or build the next product they're going to take to market, or they can buy a company that has a loyal customer base, has spent years figuring out what customers want and develop a solution around that. And they can just buy it and expand their customer base. They can cross-sell to that, but they can solve their challenge of they need to expand their product into other products, and they can do it through acquisitions. So again, you kind of look at what are the biggest challenge you would have for getting to the next level. If it could be the opposite way around, we're great at product, but we're bad at sales. I can buy a company that is great at sales, and I leverage my growth based on their sales team.
Okay.
So what is your vision? What is your goals? And what is holding you back? Mm-hmm. And then how can we address it by doing an acquisition? If you're buying a good, profitable business, there's always sources of funding. Big myth. I need to have money on my balance sheet or personally to deploy in order to buy a business. It is not correct. That's a myth.
That is a myth. Just get a loan, right?
Get a loan, get investors, do creative deal structures. Mm-hmm. You can cover most of it through creative deal structures.
Sure. Okay. Now here's the big issue that I've come up with because I thought about this, about just buying businesses anyway, not actually just buying businesses that were completely separate. Yours is different because you're saying complementary businesses that feed each other.
100%.
Yes. So that's the difference with you. Now, if there's a marketing company that's going really well, why would they want to sell? And why would they sell at a good price?
Okay, so let's go back. So you never know what the seller motivation is. So let's go back to some fundamentals. I've had this business. I've been running it for 25 years. I'm tired. I love my team. I love my clients, but I'm tired. I want to just be doing other things. Right now, there are close to 1,000 businesses a day that are owned by baby boomers that are retiring. Only 25 to 30% of those will ever sell. 70 to 75% will have no buyer, and therefore they're just going to shut the businesses down. Again, motivated seller. Why do you want to sell? I want to retire. I want to move on. I've been doing this for 10 years. I don't enjoy this anymore. We've been doing this. My partner and I can't figure out a way to part ways. We can't stand each other. We both want to go in different directions. I'm going through a divorce. I have to sell my business. Okay. There's a health issue in my family, either with me or a member of my family. And that's what I need to focus on. So there are thousands of reasons why people individually want to sell. Well, like this way. Or someone says, listen, I've been doing this. It's time for me to sell and go on to my next thing. And I want to diversify and I want to put money away. So that's why they want to sell. If you find a very motivated seller, there is opportunity to create really great deal structures that it doesn't mean it's less cash and you can do some very flexible financing. I bought sizable businesses for no cash at close. A $3 million EBITDA business I bought with no cash at close. Another business doing $750,000 in EBITDA, a profit. I bought for 10% of their value at close.
Wow.
And at cash at close. And the rest of it was pure seller financing and earnouts. If you find motivated sellers, you can create really creative deal structure.
That is always the key with real estate, with anything. Now, I did some research on this at one point, and it was very hard. Like, the brokers, whenever any business is on one of those brokerage sites for more than a couple of days or a week, it's not a good deal. Otherwise, it would have been snapped up. Okay. So where do you find these businesses that are at least a deal? I mean, you want to get a deal, right? Even if it's not rock bottom, it's got to be a fair price. It's got to be a viable business. It's got to be a good buy. Where do you find those companies that are selling?
So I'll start with this is the easy way to find them is through brokers or through listing sites. Okay.
Mhm.
That's the easiest way to do it.
Mhm.
The challenge is those are seller-led processes where you're going to have competition and compressed timelines to make an offer, do due diligence, and get the deal flows. Now, the exceptions to that is I like to talking to brokers and listing sites to take a look at deals that have been on the market for 3, 4, 5 months and they haven't sold.
Mm.
And a lot of times those are deals where they had a deal and it blew up. And then what you have is a more motivated, a more realistic seller about what the options are, what they might get for their business. The next option is I prefer to find those once in a lifetime deals on a regular basis by creating a sell side process. Just like think about it, if you want to generate clients, you do outreach for new clients, you do emails, you do LinkedIn, you can do social media, you can do a lot of things to generate, find people that are interested for clients. You do the same thing from a sell side perspective is I basically have my team, my overseas team that's been running my outreach for a long period of time. I have messages that I've written.
Mhm.
So what they do is they post up, they basically do outreach on my LinkedIn every day,
Mhm.
to, basically tells my story. Hi, I'm Tom Shipley. I do this and this. I'm interested in investing in or acquiring a business in your niche. We'd love to talk to you about your business. If you're interested, here's my Calendly link.
Right. So you're
Okay.
lead
I do the
for
same thing
this.
from emails.
Right. You're doing lead gen
That's
on the site, like,
that 100%. And therefore,
yeah.
if you just do it, take complex, make it simple, and therefore you should be having, whether it's 1, 2, 5, or 10 seller conversations every week on the calendar.
Mhm.
And that's the way you do it is, and therefore and that's really the opportunity. And if you have enough seller conversation, you will find those. One is it's amazing, especially you get to learn so much by conversations
Mhm.
that you can employ. But then on top of that, you get to find those rare opportunities, and you start with developing real relationships with the seller, find out what their true needs are,
Mm.
and then you can find those real opportunities.
Mm. Okay. So what about people that are already using their LinkedIn account for their actual business? What's the way around?
Same thing, no, but so if what I hear you saying is you're allowed, you have a maximum amount of
Mhm.
outreaches that you can do on a daily basis.
Yes.
So if you already are maxing out on that, then it's your priorities. It's basically saying, okay, I'm going to dedicate 10, let's say, what are the caps? Is it 50 per day or 100 per day? You're allowed to reach out to me.
120 per week.
Okay.
Classic. Yes.
120 per week.
Mhm.
So you take 10% of that or 20% of that.
Right.
Now, and you dedicate that.
Mm.
And you have to look at acquisitions as a strategy, and that will you get an outsized return. Let's face it, if you're doing a really strong job of marketing and you're running your business for a long time, if you can be growing your business at 10% a year, you're doing a good job. Your profit at 10% a year.
Mm.
You'll hope that a black swan event
Mm.
like a COVID or 2008 doesn't happen
Mhm.
that pushes you backwards. Some years you might grow by 15%, sometimes 5%, but you're
Mhm.
averaging. If you average 10% growth for 5 years straight,
Mhm.
you'll increase your enterprise value, the value of your business by 50%.
Mhm.
If you dedicate those same party resources to finding an outreach and buying a business,
Mhm.
and you can have 30, 40 seller conversations a year, you'll find those acquisition opportunities.
Mm.
And then if you can buy one business a year that's a half your size, 50% of your size, after 5 years,
Mm.
you'll increase your enterprise value not by 50%, by 1,200%.
Mm. Those are the numbers.
Okay.
Mhm.
And so again, those numbers. So is it worthwhile making that investment and taking a percent of your LinkedIn outreach for that? And a certain size businesses, your LinkedIn, your business is growing not by your personal LinkedIn outreach as a CEO.
Mhm.
It's your business development team that's doing the
Sure.
outreach and the strength of your business.
Absolutely. No, I'm not worried about that. I mean, we teach that for clients and consultants to get clients.
Mhm, mhm.
So how do you help people? You look at their business and you figure out what kind of business they should be buying in the first place?
Well, let me share some perspective on that. Is most of my time I dedicated to building and to acquiring and rolling up companies and exiting companies. That's where the vast majority of my time is. My give back is I spend a third of my time supporting entrepreneurs, learning the art of a programmatic M&A or systematic M&A, to learning how to do it successfully at a lower risk because a lot of people don't have the information. And some entrepreneurs are kind of like playing, I was going to say, children playing with tin chainsaws.
Yes.
And they're putting their business. And therefore, it's having the knowledge and the confidence to do that and having someone to bounce things off of. So the way I do that is twice a year, me and my partners get together and we put on a summit for 150 entrepreneurs where we teach everything we know about how to grow through acquisitions. And we bring in all of our resources from our legal firms, financials, everything that someone needs that we use. And we bring this into one room so they get to develop relationships and have these resources when they leave. And again, my goal is to increase the M&A EQ and IQ of 7 to 9 figure entrepreneurs. Period. Then in addition, out of that community, we are growing a inside community of people that I love to hang out with, that we get to help them buy 1 to 6 businesses a year. We do this through a group environment, through deep education, deal review, looking at their deals, looking at when they're deal structuring, whether it's their LOI, whether it's their acquisition agreements, whether it's their integration. And basically through myself and other coaches, we support the people in the group and they support each other on doing that. So that's where I'm at. I have just a couple strategic advisory engagements I do personally because my time is, if I can help one to many, I love to do that because I love having impact on really
For sure.
great entrepreneurs with big hearts that have big ambitions, but even bigger hearts.
Oh, I love that. I'm all about that too. That's actually my MO. Okay. So, but I was just saying, yes, that's great. You have provide all that, but really the key is to analyze the person's business and see what the gap is and what kind of,
Yeah, that's correct.
Correct? Because I think
So
we need to.
You're absolutely correct. So you're 100%. So we start with this is, okay, let's take a look at your business, where you are at right now, and where do you want, what is the next big lever or big date you're looking for, any event? Is it you want to sell the business in 3 years or 5 years? Do you want to create business large enough that you get private equity backing and then acquire bigger so you are the platform? What is your real goals with the business? Okay, and what does that look like? Are you talking about a 10x or 50x of your current size of revenue and EBITDA? What is that plan over the period of time? Now, let's look at your current business. Let's look at the strengths and weaknesses of it and the greatest challenge. What is it that we need to address that are your barriers at your different phase along the way of growth? And let's identify that for the criteria then for acquisitions. As far as what would that do? And then let's also build a financial plan because there's some things that's not only stacking capabilities and the compounding effect, there's also stacking of your EBITDA. For example, a business with 500,000, depending on this, let's just pick advertising agency. You're generating $500,000 of EBITDA. You might sell for 3.5 times that EBITDA. Okay. Once you pass the million threshold, you might be in the 4 to 5. Once you pass the 3 million, you might be in the 6. Once you pass, once you're at 5 million, now suddenly you might trade in the 8 to 9x EBITDA. So again, by doing that, every acquisition, not only you're on your EBITDA and your cash flow is improving and you're more stable of a business and buyers are going to want to buy you. But because of that, there's a scarcity. They're going to pay more for you.
Right.
And so that's why that stacking happens. And that's how you end up by buying one business after your size for 5 years is not only your EBITDA is growing, also the value what people will be willing to pay for every dollar you generate in profit of the business could be 2 or 3x that.
But there is an issue with people that have coaching businesses. That's their name. You know that like Tony Robbins has been trying to sell his business for 20 years. He can't because if he leaves, it's not Tony Robbins anymore. It's just a company. Have you found that it's harder to sell? I've heard that it's harder to sell information-based businesses.
The answer, yes. So let me put it this way. Let me just start with this. Imagine, and this is a conversation I had this weekend. Someone has a coaching business they've had for 10 years. And we said, what if we aggregate around your specific niche of what you do? What if we aggregate 5 to 6 other similar businesses and newsletters, and we create a media company over that? So what we've done is we've reduced the diversification, and then we need to figure out how we can keep every brand alive by bringing in support personalities that are teaching the content. So it doesn't just lean on that. But our goal is to diversify the customer base and create a overall media company that's a combination of, it's like, think about if I have a coaching business and it's a nice size and I teach mindfulness, for example. Okay. The question is what will it take to create a health and wellness business? Let me start by aggregating other types of mindfulness or health and wellness businesses around this. So I have a media platform, and then let me start also leveraging that for other types of products that I can sell to my customer base, or I'm promoting and I'm supporting it. So let's say that, if it's a health business and I teach people about certain types of how to balance your diet and everything else, but I believe that everyone should be taking a combination of magnesium, they're taking a certain type of magnesium. That one, I sell that as a product within my company. So think globally beyond what you're doing now. And what if you just... Let me just ask a question here. So let's just use me as an example, because it's me. My company is called Jean Lure International. So I was just thinking as you were speaking. So let's say we then acquired other types of coaching businesses. Okay. And we needed maybe a PR company to go with it, and maybe something else. And I don't know, maybe life coaching, because I'm not really doing life coaching. You're creating this hub in a way, but then you would change the name of the company to something else because it's just all these things together. The parent company would be a different brand. And your goal is to then use all this, all this community underneath you to build this parent brand, and everyone gets very comfortable with that parent brand. Right, because then it's not all about my program; it's about others. That's correct. That's correct. And your program becomes a methodology, a process with them. Right. If you think about Stephen Covey, he created a very valuable asset in Franklin Covey that did sell. Right. So there are those analogies of businesses based on his foundation, his principles that he built out. For sure. Okay, so you did tell a little bit of your story before. You were a special forces person? Yes, I was. Were you a SEAL or? So it's a good question. So I was at Florida. We talk about what's really important for me. What's important for me is meaning and impact, which also means my family. They're core to who I am. And also living in a life of adventure. So at the age of, I was at 20 years old, Florida State University, and I wanted to have a bigger impact to the world. And I felt that, as I pledging a fraternity and having fun, it felt very vapid, very empty. And I disappointed my parents, and I showed up my home in Orlando, Florida, after that 4-hour drive. My dad said, "What are you doing here, Tom? I'm supposed to be in school." I said, "I just want to do the respectful thing and let you know that at the end of the semester, I'm leaving university. I'm moving to Israel, and I'm joining the Israeli army because it's a very enough country, and it's time for me to have impact." Wow. My dad said, "Tom, you're not that athletic. You know nothing about the country. You know nothing about the army, and you don't speak the language. And if they allowed you in, you'd be a bureaucrat pushing papers." I love when people doubt my capabilities, my capacity, and my passion and commitment. And with that, I said, "I respect you, Dad. I love you." I stood up to him. I said that this is my journey. And so that's what I did. I moved to Israel. I learned a lot about the army. I found out about their 4 top special forces unit. One of them was all about rescuing people. The comparison in the United States is pararescue, where we're trained to rescue people throughout the world, basically by land, by sea, however. And the process is similar to entrepreneurship. You can appreciate this. There were 10,000 soldiers that tried to get into my unit. At the end of a lot of testing, they picked 1,000 of us to go through Hell Week. Out of Hell Week, they picked 25 of us to go through an 18-month course. And at the end 18-month course, there were 14 of us.
Wow.
But if you look at entrepreneurship, the probability that someone's going to build, create ideas, start a business, have it succeed past 1 year, 2, 5 years, and achieve $10 million in revenue, you're talking about the same probability of success. We as entrepreneurs see ourselves as the select few that will succeed. It is inconceivable to us that will be the higher percentages that won't. We have this clear vision. We assume the identity and we start the journey. We don't know all the steps, but we do know the next couple steps. And we are all in our all heart, which is what I love about entrepreneurs. But that military experience gave me the unfair advantage of becoming an entrepreneur because we're talking about risk,
Grit.
we're talking about grit, tenacity. It's like I didn't need sleep. It's like in my first business, I said in the Army, Thursday night was always that you don't sleep. It's an all-nighter. So why would I do that with my first business? Again, it was just a different flavor of what hard, we were wired for hard.
I know we weren't planning, there's good in that, but then there's also that bad thing about entrepreneurs burning the candle on both ends, not sleeping, having health issues, sleep disorders, too much coffee, too much booze, drugs even. So that can go in the wrong direction if you continue not.
By the way, it never, but let me be, this is what people said to me. And a lot of us are just wired differently. And the reason why I say that is that people used to say, Tom, you're going to burn out. Slow down, enjoy. Why are you always pushing things? Why are you always adding a zero on? Why are you? And I'm going to say it's what gives me energy. What gives me energy is pushing the limits, whether it's physically or whether it's being surrounded with people with massive hearts and great ambition that are trying to achieve great things. It gives me energy. So one time I used to feel like, well, okay, but I don't apologize for that anymore. But I'm healthy. I know that my family is my top priority, and I'll dedicate my time and my heart and be all there. And they know that and keep a balance. And, yes, I'm not I am into maybe physical addictions of running and just swimming and everything else. But you find your own balance, but the balance is what is right for you. And you cannot compare yourself to, anyone else. Yes, I know that sleeping 8 hours is important, but I know I'm just not wired for it. So I find my own balance.
Right. Now, it's so funny because people were always saying to me, oh, why don't you take a break? And I remember thinking, why would I want to take a break? Taking a break is depressing to me because people around you always want to bring you down to their level, right? Because it makes them look bad. I remember for years, nobody does this anymore to me, okay? For years, oh, you work too hard. And why are you doing that? I'm thinking, I like it. And I want to get ahead. And, the same with you. But I didn't understand that mollycoddling. Oh, you need a break. I'm thinking, no, I don't. I need to work harder because I am not where I want to be, And there's a point though where people stop saying that to you because the people you're surrounded with get you,
That's it. And you have to keep on changing the room. And I used to have a long criteria of who I want to be surrounded by. And I just keep it very simple now. Do they give me energy or not? If they suck the energy out of my life, then you need something. It's just not right for me.
That is exactly my measure now. If they drain my energy, they're out. I don't even want to analyze why anymore. It's just, I don't feel good.
That's it.
Right?
Simple.
They're not energizing or adding something, then they're not a fit. That's a very easy gauge that we both figured out. I agree with you. They're not uplifting too. And also you said a couple of times, heart. That's huge because in the end, that's what matters. And I think we're getting to a point now where a lot of people care about that. In fact, I was at an event the other day. I was giving this guy all this help. Okay. And he was dismayed. I said, look, John, here's this really good contacts. And he said, wow, thanks so much. And I said, it's my job. And he looked at me. I said, it is my job to help people to thrive. He was astounded. I don't think he'd ever heard that before. But that is my job to help other people to thrive, whether they're paying me or not. I see that as my human job. And he was dismayed. I don't think he'd ever heard anything like that in his life because I think people don't operate that way. We all want something when we're trying to, run our businesses. We want something. But I think there has to be a point where we're just helping no matter what. Would you agree?
Yes. And ultimately, there's only so much dollars you could put in a bank account, but I promise you, when you're at your last years on earth, when you look back over time and looking at, you ultimately say, whose life did I impact in a positive way? And it was the people that I really cared about. And that's where I dedicated my time and money as people that I really cared about and how much it impact. And I view that as the ultimate measure of success.
For sure. Absolutely. Nobody's saying, gee, I wish I worked more. That usually apparently on their deathbeds, they're saying something like, I wish I'd spent more time with family. Well, you and I won't have that regret because that was always my priority as well. So I looked at those questions that people ask on their deathbed and I went through them all and I said, I have none of these. One of them was also, that's true. I said, I have none of these regrets. Maybe I could be more spiritual. Sure. But I'm working on that. But, one of them that was funny was, I wish I'd traveled more. And I thought, nope, I've traveled a lot. I did that.
There you
So
go.
I don't
There you go.
have those normal regrets. And that feels good. People should look at those questions and just go through those and prepare so they don't have those regrets. That's what I think. Reverse engineer that. Well, Tom, this has been super interesting. And by the way, everybody, there will be a special free gift for you in the show notes. Tom, you want to explain what that's going to be?
Well, I'll tell you what, we'll share what the show notes, and my goal overall is to make this journey of acquisitions easier. So we're going to provide some tools to you to make it easier. And also, if you want to follow me, you can always follow me on tshipley.com. And if you have a 7 and 9 figure business and are interested in growing through acquisitions, you join the most incredible giving community of entrepreneurs. In Miami, February 7th through 9th.
Mm-hmm.
And you can find out information on dealconlive.com.
Perfect. Okay. Well, this has been amazing. And look for that little gift in the show notes. And thank you, Tom, for turning up. And we will see you on the next show. You're listening to the Business Wealth Impact Podcast, your source for empowering information and cutting-edge ideas from the world's top minds. I'm your host, Jean Amlour, founder of 7-figure coaching company, Jean Amlour International. Join me on a journey to unleash your potential and create your highest success. Welcome to Business Wealth Impact.